go. 78%. Who's thudding around?
Me, I was moving a mouse.
Jeez.
Jesus Christ.
Is it a brick
beating the
mouse?
shit out of it?
No, it was the cord was caught under the keyboard, and so it kind of look. Here, I'll show you. I'll do it again. See?
And the only way I could think of getting it out from underneath the keyboard was just to smash everything on the desk.
Oh, it's a gentle pull. It was just like, look, I'll do it the best I can. There, was that better?
Yeah, that sounded
All right,
normal.
that was more of a gentle touch.
You could just lift
Here's me
the
shifting the
keyboard.
mouse. Did you hear that?
I heard all of it. I heard all
I'll
of the
do it again.
sounds.
That's crazy,
I'm even
man.
doing it quite hard.
Who's got the loudest click?
Can you hear mine at all?
Okay, wait, everyone, I'll say your name and then click.
All right.
James. Ben. Me.
I can't
Okay.
hear any of it.
Why was I programmed to feel pain?
Welcome, friends of all designs, to episode 93 of 8.5-Bit, which I'm sure is going to be the most robo episode of them all. Joining me today is my very cybernetically enhanced friend, James.
Hey, everybody.
And my very man with a blender for an arm friend, Ben.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
Well, that sounds useful.
You can make juices on the go.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like, Ben, I need a mango smoothie. Go.
No, thank you.
I need to lose some fingers now.
Hmm.
Help me! Ha ha! No work for me today.
Flawless plan.
It's genius, I have to say. Okay. What a week in video games it has been. Quite a lot to discuss. So let's talk about video games. I think straight up, I shouldn't pretend like I'm going to choose what we're going to talk about with the guys. We're just going to jump in straight in. The big thing that everyone's playing this last weekend, Titanfall. You finally got the public beta going. It's kind of funny. Everyone's getting keys, and there's been a big mess up with the keys this week. People had asked for Xbone keys, and they got PC, and vice versa. And everyone's freaking out and all this stuff. Tomorrow, it's public anyway.
Yeah, it's almost like they threw up their hands and just everyone have it. Just turn it on. Turn on the tap.
So
Let everyone in.
Tomorrow, Xbone users definitely have it, and then probably the day after, maybe, they'll get PC have it. But that doesn't really make much difference, because everyone's basically got it anyway if you filled out the form to get a key.
It's the Gmail of
Yes,
games
it's the
right
Gmail
now.
of game betas at the moment.
Yeah.
So, James and I have been playing it. You haven't had a go yet, Ben, have you?
No.
Okay. So I am going to jump in and just say that this is a good game. I liked it. Good game. There we go. I think that's all we need to say, really.
Moving on.
Yeah. No, I think I have only just played it, as in I've been at the coast and I've just come back 2 hours before this podcast recorded, logged on, had a little bit of a struggle with Origin to redeem my key. Once that finally went through, I downloaded the entire game, which said it was 12 gig, and it came down from Origin in less than an hour. And then I was able to run through the tutorials and play one multiplayer match online. So once Origin accepted my game key, it was all smooth going.
And
There's been a whole lot of discussion this weekend about, people not being able to connect to servers and matchmaking and all that. At least for my experience today, pushed a button and it worked.
yeah, when I tried last night, there were issues getting on. But I found that's quickly been resolved. Since I was playing it this morning, it was very fast. I just basically hit the button and I was in. They've done a pretty good job with that now.
I think what you'll discover the first time, I logged in, I pushed play, and it immediately took me tutorials, which, that was pretty normal for a game, really. And this game has a lot of tutorial sections. I think there were 12 different tutorials, and it's strange, because it's needed, because the game really does have a lot of systems working.
Yeah, actually, when I first loaded it up, I skipped them. I was like, I've played COD. I'm sure I can figure this one out. But it's not COD. It's not COD at all. The free running stuff in it, you're really worth running through that tutorial at least once, because that is a big part of the game.
Yeah, it doesn't take up too much time. It's relatively straightforward. The funny thing is, though, they introduce all these new systems, like, being able to call down your Titan, because, they get dropped. That's what Titanfall really is. And, you can jump in and out of your mech. You can do all these different things. But once you get in the game and you've just been you only need to be briefly introduced to any of these mechanics. They're all really simple.
Mm.
The game is a lot of mechanics, but a lot of simple mechanics, which don't seem to need too many conditions to understand. They just work and they're quite straightforward once you know they are there.
Well, I think especially the free running, I was really impressed with how well. Because I mean, the map you played, we just played it together, and that was actually a fairly flat map. There's other ones with a lot more vertical movement, and all the maps have been designed around that. Well, a lot of them have been designed around that vertical movement. So there'll be multi-story buildings, and there'll be holes in the roof and things so you can kind of get around.
Well, that's the thing. Even this flat map still had lots of holes in the roof, lots of multiple levels, and it was one of those things where I was primarily playing it like I would traditionally play a first-person shooter, except when those opportunities presented themselves, I had no trouble exploiting them. I just I'll jump through. I saw him run in there, so I'm going to jump on the roof and drop down a hole in the roof and get and surprise him from above. Like, it just feels natural in the game.
When I first loaded it up, because I was expecting just traditional jetpacks when I jumped in. I didn't realize it was effectively going to be like a double jump. Yeah, jump pack. But I found the levels were designed in such a way they had the heights about right that I always felt like, well, most of the time I felt like I could climb if I wanted to, and I could get around if I wanted to. Because it's a game where because of the different angles you can approach it from, you get these moments that happen all the time. Like, there was one of the matches I was just jumping from rooftop to rooftop, and there was like 3 or 4 Titans that were battling, and I just pull out my rocket launcher because every pilot has at least one kind of anti-Titan weapon.
Yeah.
And I started picking them off, and I was actually taking down a lot of them, and I was sort of ducking into cover, and it was working really well. So that vertical movement allowed me to get into that position really easily.
And this was the one thing I wanted it to prove it to me, this parkour system, to feel natural in the game, because we've spoken in recent times about Brink and Sunset Overdrive, even though no one knows anything about that except for Ben. But because Brink had this very smooth parkour system, but it was sort of semi-scripted in that it would sort of work its own way around it. In this, it's very much you're in control all the time. And I really liked one moment. I got killed in it, and that's how I saw it. I'd snuck up on a Titan, sort of taken a few pot shots at it. It turned around, and I ran away, and it tried to follow me, and the amount of times it missed with its missile, because I'd be jumping off a wall and then back around another corner, and I just got to see that little 10-second stretch because they've got the kill cam. I was like, that actually worked pretty well until he killed me. It was good fun.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about emergent stories that come from the game. And as I said, I've played one match so far, and quite proudly, I got number 2 on the team. James got second last.
I am no good at these games.
Anyway. I was holding this capture point by myself, and some people started coming in, and I was holding off as best I could. Then too many people started coming in. I can't, I'm no amazing first-person shooter player. I wasn't going to survive, so I started running, and I looked out a window because you can call your own personal robot the Titan, but it has to call outside. So I called him to outside through the window, and then I ran around the corner, and by the time I got there, he'd fallen to the ground. Jumped in, ran straight back from where I came from, now with the tires completely turned because I was a great big robot with missile launchers and shit. And I managed to hold that point, but then one pilot stayed, and he was he just kept running around like James was saying on the rooftops. He'd get to one point, pop up, take a shot, and by the time I could respond, the individual pilots are fast enough that if they play like that, they can get to another point that I can't see, take me by surprise again. And he and I had this very amusing little battle for a while, and that took like a minute of gameplay, just this one guy and I doing this one little thing, him a giant robot against me, till eventually someone else jumped on my back while I was fighting him and they killed me, which cool.
I think it says a lot for the game that in maybe the hour I've played it, I can already think of a few really defining moments that came out of it. Be it like me getting into a robot fist fight, or me jumping on the back of a Titan and, as a pilot and just blowing it up.
Can you have a robot fist fight?
Yeah. There's a melee thing, so you can actually get into like a robot fist fight.
Okay, that's next round.
The shift in scale works really well. I really like that transition from being on the ground to being in the mech. It just works really well. I've been really impressed with it so far. The bot stuff, also having the bots, I actually don't mind. Like having the extra cannon fodder around, I found was kind of fun because it tells you when you get, when it's a grunt. That's what they call it, a grunt. You still get a little bit of XP for it, or you have a few points for it. It's less, but it's nice just having something to blow up, especially when you're in a mech and you just want to stomp some dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of nice having them in there.
But especially when you're in the mech, then they're no danger at all, really.
Yeah.
I never saw any
Yeah.
of the grunts do anything that was dangerous. The pilots, however, still completely dangerous when you're inside.
And so I think there's a bunch of stuff they've done in it that really makes it stand out from kind of more recent shooter experiences. But there's two issues that I want to talk about with it.
Let's go.
Okay, so the first issue, and this is more of a minor one, but I think it's worth bringing up, is the graphics, the graphic fidelity of it.
Yes.
It's not good. I don't know if you managed to turn up the text resolution.
I turned. Oh, is there another setting? Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's just, you can choose the text resolution. It's actually very specific where you need to set it. At first, I thought it was locked. You have to actually, before you hit play game to get to the pre-game menu, you can change it. But as soon as you're in,
is there
in the
more than just high? I saw
it goes to insane.
Oh, okay.
So,
I didn't turn
but
it up,
even to getting it up to insane, it starts on normal. It still looks like a Source Engine game from 2010. Like the game, it's just that the lighting's flat. It doesn't look so good. But I think that's kind of made worse by the performance isn't that great. But that could also be just it's beta. I don't know what kind of frame rate we're getting for.
I turned everything to high, except I didn't realize about the texture one going higher than high, and it was smooth as anything for me.
Yeah, no, I was getting maybe 20 frames a second. Like, it was low. And like in contrast, I'd load up, say, Hawken, and that was like silky smooth. So I mean, maybe that's just an optimization. So I'm willing to kind of give that one.
Are you NVIDIA or ATI?
NVIDIA.
Okay, I'm ATI, so it could be.
And maybe
a difference there.
I could need a driver update or something. But that's a smaller quibble. The bigger one I have is the server architecture.
Yeah.
So when Microsoft was talking about all their cloud stuff and how Xbox is going to be in the cloud, what that really is using the Microsoft Azure web farms, and those things have been around for a while. They're basically just big data centers you can use for serving web content, and there's a few of them around. There's the US, there's a few of them, and then Southeast Asia and East Asia, there's a few of them. There isn't one in Australia, and that's where they use to host the servers. So if you're in Australia, your ping will be, well, mine's sits somewhere between 150 and 200. Paul, I checked when we were playing.
I was around 200.
Yeah, we're both over 200. That's not normally how I like to play my Twitch shooters. It's a bit high. Now, most of the time I found it hasn't been a major issue. Like, I still have fun while I play it. But in, like the hour or so I've played it, there's probably been 5 or 6 times where I've been shot at, I've ducked around a corner, and then I've died. And that's not so fun. Like, it's not cool when I die because someone's got a better connection than me. I don't know, that takes a fair bit from it for me. And the problem is they can't do anything to fix this. Until Microsoft decides to build some Australian data centers, that's it. Like, there's no peer-to-peer solution, which is what they had in COD. And there's no dedicated servers, which is generally what Battlefield does. Like, just sort of locally, you can run your own.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to get Oz gamers running their own server.
No. So basically, if you're an Australian, it's a shooter that you're going to be paying $80, $90 for, that might not give you the performance that you really want. Like, if I connect to a TF2 server and I had a plus 150 ping, I'd just leave. I just wouldn't bother. But I mean, that said, even with those conditions, I still have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think, and I sort of think it's, now you guys have played more console-ish shooters than me and more cottage things. But so let me know if this has been done many times before. But the default pistol in this game is really interesting. I haven't played a game with it. It's a lock-on pistol. And you get near someone and you pull out the pistol, and if it's a grunt, it just goes beep, locks on. You don't even have to be looking at them anymore. You pull the trigger, it shoots them and they die. If it's a pilot, it has to lock on like 3 times. So you have to like keep a lock on them for a few seconds to get there. And when I played with that pistol in just like the training and then the multiplayer, it meant I could keep really, really active and everyone could be jumping around and moving a lot, and it's made it really easy to fight people still. Is that a common kind of weapon? Because I'm always complaining about the lock-on that you get in the COD games. It always sort of annoys me, this snap too. But this sort of gave me sort of like a middle between the two worlds where it felt like, oh, well, this is just the future weapon.
Yeah, well, I mean, normally the way it works in a COD game is, it's like a kind of like a silent lock-on.
Yeah.
Where this one, they're just very explicit about it.
Yeah,
which
it shows the path of the bullet and everything.
Which I actually kind of appreciated. It's
Yeah.
like, well, like I know what's going on. It doesn't feel like a fudge. I mean, there's a few things in this game which really do alleviate the latency issues. Like, the lock-on stuff, the anti Titan weapon, like just the rocket launcher, that thing just locks on.
Yep.
Which means that the accuracy is less important. It's more about your positioning and sort of like not being seen and things like that. So yeah, I'm actually a little unsure whether or not I want to get this now. I mean, as much as I love it, I can just see that latency giving me the shits.
Well, with me, I really enjoyed it, and I've never really doubted that I'd enjoy the game, but I'm still not sold on if I care about it as a full price game. But that's to say, like, I buy very, very rarely do I buy a multiplayer only game at full price.
Yeah.
It's just because I play so many games, I'm not going to dedicate that much time to make it worth my while.
And I think this one, there's a little bit of weirdness, I think, with Titanfall, and because Titanfall I see as it's a Microsoft flagship product. Like it's something they're really pushing as this is like a AAA. This is one of our big titles, and in the context of that, it's lackluster in a number of ways. Like mainly in the artistically, even though the art's fine, it's just more that the fidelity of the graphics is not so great, and the kind of limited kind of server infrastructure they've gone for. And in the context of like a AAA game, I don't think that's so great. In the context of it's a freshly formed studio of veterans, but still freshly formed studio that are making this multiplayer only game, and maybe they're selling it for like $40 like on Steam as like a like then I would look at it and go, that's fine. But when I go, this is like the poster child of the Xbox One, and I load it up and it looks like a game from 4 years ago, that's less cool.
Yeah. It is a strange thing because, I mean, really, when we're speaking about the game here, we've had nothing but praise for it, really. A couple of issues, but the game itself is really fun. But then at the same time, it's like, is it the next COD and Halo? Is it really going to have that sort of icon, stance in the industry? I don't know if it can really achieve that.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it was interesting. Like, I was sort of talking on Twitter just about it, just sort of like sharing sort of my thoughts. And someone was saying, like, there's a few people that aren't getting it because it doesn't have that single player campaign. And like, I know that
if it had single player, I would buy it.
Yeah. So like that's interesting. That like it's a product which doesn't seem to be fitting the criteria of that, like what people expect out of a COD game. And if it doesn't meet that criteria, are people just gonna not? It won't be as big as Microsoft expects it to be.
Well, that's the thing. Even COD, I mean, I don't play much, but there are characters out of COD that people talk about, and when they are putting like COD images together, they use those characters and everything. It's like, does a multiplayer game have characters to focus on? Are the Titans designs that strong for people to put on a poster and actually realize it's Titanfall and not just any other mech from any other mech game?
Hawken.
Yeah, it's like, I can compare the lot to Hawken, and while I think it does do more than Hawken does, I mean, Hawken is a small indie game that released for $20, and I don't know if I think this is so much better than it is a AAA price game. It's cool though. It's weird. We're being very negative. It's a very, very cool game. I just had a lot of fun with it.
I had a lot of fun.
I'm gonna play with it immediately after the show too. It's cool. Yeah, we shall see. Anyway. So, no, I think that's all I want to say about Titanfall. We can talk about a lot, but there's got other things to talk about. A few games we saw a bit of this week that we had not seen before. We finally got some gameplay of Lords of the Fallen. Previously, we only had sort of a CGI cinematic thing. Now we've got to see what the game is, and it looks to take a lot of cues from Dark Souls, for one.
I think a lot is a little bit of an understatement. It's very, very Dark Souls.
I think the progression is what changes it, particularly from Dark Souls. The game world itself almost reminded me more of maybe Darksiders is just like Zelda, but the non-Zelda parts of Darksiders.
Like it has a more I don't know, like the art style. It's not as harsh maybe as Dark Souls, like in Lords of the Fallen. It's sort of like I don't know, softer is the word that comes to mind, but it's still like it looks less hardcore, maybe. That's what I'm going for. But it looks nice. Like the world plays together. It looks good. The animation's good. The combat looks good. Because it's really just It's the Dark Souls formula.
Yeah, it seems to be just that, methodical, tactical gameplay where, if you screw up, you will be in trouble. But I don't think it's that unforgiving by the looks of it. But certainly...
Maybe like Dark Souls Light. Like, I didn't get the
Light
impression
Souls?
it was... Light Souls. Yeah, Light Souls. We'll go with that. I mean, I didn't get the impression it was going to screw you quite so hard.
No.
As Dark Souls would. And that's not a bad thing to exist, Like, Dark Souls is awesome, but it's not everyone's thing.
Yeah.
And so taking that formula and maybe making it a little more accessible.
Plus, this one's a bit more Norse.
Yeah, there's some good beards.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the bearded helmet, the beard mask. Like, the guy has a good beard, and then he puts on a mask with another beard.
You have to protect the beard.
Well, yeah, it's a good beard.
What if someone slashed at you when they cut your beard off? It would only be
Might as well
half
be
a man.
dead. Yeah.
I would take off my codpiece and strap it to my chin.
What I've liked to have seen out of the Lords of the Fallen video is just a little more to differentiate it from Dark Souls. Like, just reading through the YouTube comments.
Well, I know
very,
part of the concept and what they show in the original is that
mixed.
you're supposed to fight like humongous creatures, like Shadow of the Colossus level stuff. And the big thing they show in the little demo is fighting a tall knight.
Yeah.
And while he was a nice tall knight,
looked good. Had some cool ember particle effects off his sword.
Yeah, he had like 4 stages where you broke off different parts of armor and he'd change his attack patterns. It was cool. But yeah, not really anything epic in scale to really give an idea of what will differentiate this title. But no, it looks solid from what it is. Next up, though, is a game we have been talking about for weeks, despite the fact we had seen nothing of it. That's Evolve. We finally have gameplay of the thing.
Oh, and the first thing I see is jetpacks. God, I love jetpacks so much.
You know what this game is?
What?
This is Giant Citizen Kabuto with only 2 of the 3 classes.
Actually, that's exactly what I thought. Innovation be damned. This is just a Giants ripoff.
Pretty much. You've got your hunters and you've got your creature. One person plays a creature and they get to eat and grow and decide what they're going to evolve themselves into. And the hunters have to track them down and kill them with special skills. And that's about it.
And you know what? Those special skills, that's one of my favorite things I got out of that video. I love team mechanics. I love it when there's, everyone has a role and doing those roles, you just work better as a team.
Well, one of the ones that I liked was the one that was a trapper whose job really was to contain the creature so they can't run away. Because it's quite an open world environment, it seems. And I quite like that. In fact, one of the things that they didn't seem to mention at all, because I keep saying that, the only enemy is this is the player. It's like, no, they're not. There's lots of animals in this world. There seems to be almost like an ecosystem around there. And partly the giant can kill them. Oh, not the giant. The creature can kill them to grow and such, and eat them. But they also seem to be challenges for the players and everything. It was almost like a Jurassic Park game where one player is playing a T-Rex, which is also a monster.
That'd be so cool.
Except with fast evolving on the T-Rex. I'm really, really interested to see what sort of long-term value this game can have, because you so many games sort of devolve multiplayer into people running the same lines, people using the same loadouts, people doing that, and that's what would kill this game, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd be like, well, this is the spawns for these mobs, so this is what the monster's going to do to get. Yeah, that would just kind of What I would like to see them do is just keep adding new monsters. Why does it need to be a giant monster? Why can't it be a predator?
They'd actually spoken previously about the game being free to play and the monsters being sort of what people purchase.
Oh.
But then
I don't mind that much.
Then they decided not to. They decided to make it full. Well, then they weren't feeling like they were withholding anything from anyone, and it's an argument that's fine, and I've got no problem with
and it will probably actually, thinking about that, people would just use the free one, so you'd be less likely to see the kind of the new
more
ones.
interesting ones.
Yeah.
No, so far I'm interested in playing it.
I thought
it looks pretty. I think I like the foliage.
Yeah. it's dark. There's lights. The lights look good.
It's dark and there's lights, you're saying?
Yeah.
So you can call this Dark Light Soul.
Dark Light Souls? Yeah, no, Dark Light Monster.
Okay.
Oh, some kind of Dark Light Conflict.
Oh, there's a reference that very few people will get. Okay, finally up in games that we sort of saw this week, we have a little project under development under the Hitman brand, and it's currently called Hitman Go. Its concept being a mobile Hitman game, which is still a stealth game, assassination game, but it's turn-based. And at least from what they've discussed with it so far, I really, really like this idea. it takes Hitman back to being more of a puzzle game, which to me it was always a puzzle game. When it started getting more combat involved, I was always disappointed. So being pure puzzle, I like that. What do you think, James? I know you're very big on turn-based stealth.
I love it when people make games that I want to make, like but I was too lazy to make. It's sort of an idea I've had kicking around my head for a while. Because after playing Metal Gear Acid on PSP, which was took the Metal Gear formula and made it turn-based, I've been completely sold on turn-based stealth. Generally, I don't like stealth, which may sound funny for someone who's always the Metal Gear apologist. But as soon as you make it turn-based, it really then becomes about just sort of seeing what the patterns are, and then you're not going to kind of screw up through my crappy Twitch abilities. So
as demonstrated by your second last place in Titanfall, James.
Yeah. I'm just no good. So yeah, it's a really cool mechanic. And I like the aesthetic they've gone for, where it's sort of like a planning kind of thing, and there's the little what do you call them? The begins with the M.
Miniatures.
Yeah, the little miniatures, but no, there's another word for them. But yeah, sort of you got these little miniatures that you can kind of move around. It looks great. It's going to come out to tablet, which seems like a good, or mobile and tablet seems like a good fit for it. Don't know if it'll be free to play. Maybe, probably.
I don't know if the free to play model would really fit a game like this. I suppose it could just be more levels. Buy more levels for
it could just be that. Like I don't know. They haven't really announced too much of it yet.
What about you, Ben? Would you play a turn-based Hitman game?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Hitman universe. The other Hitman games have kind of bored me. But this one actually sort of, I was a little bit interested in this one. I like turn-based strategy, and I like how they described it as beautifully rendered diorama-style set pieces. Just the word diorama. I don't know. I just associate good things with that word now. I think it's because of Community. But I kind of was interested in this one. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'd actually prefer it on PC or something. I'm not a big fan of mobile games, I've found, but oh well.
Oh, maybe it'll come to Steam or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
sure.
I think these kinds of things can be a good fit for sitting on the couch with your phone or your, or your tablet and just, touching stuff.
I love touching stuff.
I know you really enjoy it, man.
There we go. Okay. This week we also had a new Nintendo Direct. They had a few things to announce this time. Not the speculation that happens every time a Nintendo Direct is announced and everyone thinks it's going to be a cavalcade of new games, of things they haven't seen in years. Of course it will be today, even though Nintendo has said nothing of it. What do you know? It wasn't that. But we had other things anyway. Things that I never know why these things are news when they announce like new characters for like Mario Kart and Smash Bros.
It's like major news as well. It's like, hey, did you know in Mario Kart 8 you're going to be able to play Bowser's minions?
I don't really care.
Okay.
Little Mac and Super Smash Brothers. I mean, like, I'm sure it'll be fine and I'll enjoy it, but it doesn't really need its own announcement, does it?
Yeah, like it's cool. Thanks, guys.
I liked it.
That's all right.
I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was happy.
Yeah. But in other news for it, the Wii U at least, we're going to start getting Game Boy Advance games on the Virtual Console, which could be cool. There's some very good Game Boy Advance games, especially since you'll most likely be able to play them off screen on the tablet.
Yeah, that worked pretty well.
Yeah, just blow them up a bit.
I'd prefer to play it on my 3DS though. They seem to have kind of like let that one slide because when the 3DS came out, there was the ambassador program for the chumps like me that got it when it was still expensive, and part of the ambassador program was have a bunch of GBA games. And like, okay, cool. There's a bit, they gave a bunch of good ones too.
Yeah, and they still haven't released them for the general public to buy.
No, and they've also never really made them work on the system. Like, they won't go into sleep mode. So I think it was this hack to get it in, because they needed to appease after the price drop. But they just didn't really go back and fix it. So maybe they just had trouble getting the system to do it, and now they're just kind of given up because it makes more sense to put it on the 3DS than it does on the Wii U.
Yeah, I'll never understand why they can't get more of that stuff out. I mean, hobbyists do it. Why not just go hire them? They've already done it.
So they're going to be putting out those GBA games about once a month. I'd like it to be a little faster. Yeah, there's a lot of GBA games. They've got a lot of back catalog.
You could do once a week. It would be fine.
You could, and I think Nintendo, they don't have that thing which keeps me loading up the store every week.
No.
Whereas if there was like Virtual Console Wednesday, where it's like, hey, we're going to release something, we're not going to really even tell you what it is, we're just going to put it up there. That would probably be something which would get me to go and open it up. And you know what? When I do that, I see other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and especially if you do like a day or two sort of discount on the front, then it's like everyone's loading up every week to if they want that game and get that little discount.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I
Oh
want,
well.
I want weekend deals.
Nintendo.
But-
Oh, they do them sometimes. In fact, I'll talk about it later in the show, but they've got a few games going, a few deals on the eShop at the moment of like independent Japanese games, and the only reason you'll ever see them is because you go on the eShop and look. It's like they don't advertise it anywhere else, but there's no reason to load up the eShop normally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, more things on there. Okay. New announcement for the Wii U. They're doing NES Remix 2, which is coming out
Paul,
in 2 months.
Didn't we just get one of those?
Yeah, the first one was released 2 months ago, and the sequel is coming out 4 months after the original. I don't understand this. Why is it just not more NES titles included in the first game, like as a DLC pack or something? Why do I have to have 2 separate games?
It seems funny to complain about Nintendo releasing stuff too quickly.
Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it?
But yeah, it is a little. I don't know. I just spent like, was it $15 or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, oh, there's another one. Like, oh,
it's
okay.
also $15 and it's got different. And really, the games included this time are Super Mario Bros. 3, Kirby's Adventure, Metroid. It's sort of like the better games are in this one, the more iconic ones. It's like, oh, well, if I'd known that, maybe I would have waited that 4 months. Also, by playing it, you can unlock an included game this time, Super Luigi Brothers, which is just the original Super Mario Brothers, but played with Luigi and played with the levels back to front, and you have to run right to left instead of left to right.
That's cute.
Yeah, that's cute. I don't know how much that will continue. But yeah.
It's kind of cool seeing them use these old licenses in different ways. I think we mentioned that when we were talking about NES Remix 1.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the NES Remix concept. I just think this is weird how it's a separate thing. There's nothing wrong with it being a separate thing. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Child of Light is being released on April 30. It's not exclusive to Wii U, but they talked about it there. I didn't realize it was a small game. It's only a $15 download.
That's pretty cheap.
I'll definitely be all over that.
Yeah.
The new Mario Golf is coming out May 2nd.
What was that coming out on?
That's 3DS.
Oh, yeah, more Mario Golf.
Yeah, I'm going to be all over that.
Yeah, I do love myself some Mario Golf.
But weirdly, the same day they're releasing Kirby Triple Deluxe.
I think Mario Golf's going to win out.
Yeah, I suppose it doesn't really matter with Nintendo, because Nintendo really play the long game with their games. They just release them and have them there, and they leave them at the same price for 3 years. And they don't really seem to be too focused on the initial sales that much, so I guess that's all right. But finally, they've done a bunch of stuff on the eShop, and they've done a bunch of free-to-play games. They've got Inazuma 11, which is a soccer-themed RPG, which... that one's not free. The ones that are free-to-play, I think it's Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, which is weird. But the other one that just came out, and I've downloaded and given a little shot so far, Steel Diver Sub Wars. So Steel Diver is becoming a franchise. This is now taking their Steel Diver submarine mechanics, and it's first person now. And you can still play with the virtual consoles on the bottom screen, but you can play mostly with controls as well. And it's online multiplayer, free to play.
I didn't realize that was free to play. I need to go get that.
You can buy like upgrades and stuff. You can buy a premium version for $10, but it's completely free to play, and it's pretty cool. It's a weird thing. It's like I always liked Steel Diver in a little way, but you were saying.
Because there was also we're getting the last game out of the Guildo 1 series, which is Weapon Shop des Masse, which I'm guessing is weapons of mass destruction in French. I don't know. I have no idea. But
French.
El Frencho. But the Guild 1 series is a collection of small but really interesting games that they've been kind of releasing, like the Crimson Shroud and that Mecha one. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. But like they're these really interesting, almost experimental games with a small scope, with a lot of polish that they've been putting out pretty regularly and selling pretty cheap.
All on sale at the moment.
And so that's the last one in that. And then in this one, you're running a weapon shop. And so it's like, basically to me, it sounded like Cooking Mama, but for RPG weapons. And that sounds like a cool mix to me.
I thought it would be a little bit like that, Racketeer or whatever.
Maybe a little bit like that. But the minigame thing made me think of Cooking Mama.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see Nintendo, we'll make fun of Nintendo for not releasing stuff, but in practice, there's a lot of stuff going on. They just don't really tell anyone. Like this Guild Wars 1 stuff, there's been some really cool little games that come out of there. Like Crimson Shroud was the tabletop JRPG mashup where you actually roll dice and things like that. So I'm really hoping that they continue this and we keep getting these little games which they're not these like $1 iPhone games, but they're not even like $20 budget games. They're sort of like these little 3 to 4 hour experiences.
Yeah.
And I think it's a cool middle ground that they're finding for people that want these little games, but they don't necessarily want these really big experiences. So hopefully they keep going with that. And seeing them getting into free to play more is good as well because like I want to use my 3DS more.
Yeah.
And at the moment I don't use it so much, but I will go get Steel Diver. I'll go check it out, and maybe I'll pay $10 for it.
Who knows? It's interesting. I haven't got to play it online yet, so that's why I haven't spoken about it much more. But it was fun to mess around with. The game that's sort of the end of Nintendo's Direct. But in that series, the game that I downloaded and bought this week on 3DS was a little adventure game called The Starship Dam Ray. And I've really been enjoying it so far. It's only on the 3DS, and you start the game, and it basically says, don't look anything up. There's no tutorials. We're not going to explain anything. Just like work it out yourself. And I thought that was kind of a nice thing to put at the beginning of an adventure game. It's like, yeah, we know you could go and ruin this game immediately.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Because I believe it's going to be quite short, but we'll see. You wake up on a spaceship and you're inside a cryogenic capsule and you can't open it. And so at the moment, at least from what I played at the game, most of the game seems to be that you've got control of some robots on the ship. So you can sort of remotely access those or access a security camera so you can look at where the robot is or something like that. Get remote control of them, and then you explore the ship in sort of a grid-based, almost like old first-person RPGs, where I suppose like Legend of Grimlock and that sort of thing. If you want a more current example, and so you navigate the ship. You find things, it's an adventure game. You pick up an item, use the item with something, solve a puzzle. It's pretty straightforward. And so far, it's kind of been fun that, they really don't tell you anything. And it's not overly complex, but you've just got that little spirit of discovery. And the lights aren't really on the ship, so you only see things that really illuminated very close to you. And, you're basically, at the moment, I'm just trying to find a way to get out of the cryogenic capsule that I'm stuck in. I'm sure there'll be a shocking twist, like I am the monster or something like that. Who knows?
You are the capsule.
Something like that. But it's been fun, and it cost me like $3.90 or something like that.
Sounds like a good deal.
So it's a great little price.
I like it when there are games that they don't hold your hand too much. We don't always have to do hand holding. We can figure it out, and especially when there's not much to do. Like there's only so many buttons you can press.
Exactly, and in this, it's most of the puzzles so far. The only problem's been that really, it's hard not to work out the item that you need to solve the puzzle because it's probably the only item you can find to pick up at the time. But so far I've been enjoying it, and they've had a couple of little, fun little experiments with gameplay. It really just feels like more of an experiment someone's playing around with than a full-fledged adventure. But yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. Pretty cool. Okay, I think it might be some time for some news attack. James, sing me a song, news attack, to the tune of Only You.
News attack is easy cause I got it in front of me. Gonna read it out now. News. Is that the right song?
That's called Loving You, that song.
Oh.
I think it's called Loving You. Either way, it's not Only You.
Okay, well, how does Only You go?
It's too late.
Oh, let's find out next week.
I suck at music so hard.
Okay. God of War and Sly Cooper collections are going to be coming to the Vita soon. That will have God of War 1 and 2, and I think the first 3 games of Sly Cooper. So, be pretty good, I think.
Risk of Rain is coming to the Vita. Risk of Rain is that little indie platform sci-fi roguelike. There's no word on the release date yet, but sometime soon.
So, Oculu, like Oculus without the S, which apparently is a business-oriented video streaming service.
Why did you give this one to Ben, James?
Is taking the Oculus Rift to court for false designation of origin, trademark dilution, and unfair competition.
Hey, see, it's law stuff. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. What I loved was then they had some statement saying Oculus thought they could just take an S off our name and turn it. It's like, I don't know, add an S to our name. It's like, what, you mean taking your fictional name and just turning it into a real word? Okay. Okay. Speaking of dickheads in law, King.com are still a bunch of dickheads. They are currently having an issue with the game Candy Swipe, and they've kind of thrown up their arms and said, we can't afford to fight you. Candy Swipe is a game that existed well before Candy Crush, Candy Crush Saga or whatever. Unfortunately, King.com went and bought a game that existed before Candy Swipe, and now they're using that to say that Candy Swipe copied them.
So Candy Swipe is actually the forerunner of the Candy Crush. Just to sort of take a little bit to explain the situation. So it's a forerunner of the Candy Crush. The art is basically stolen. It is the game that King ripped off.
Yeah.
They were then trying to crush Candy Swipe, and then went and bought a game with Candy before it to basically circumvent basically complete douchebags.
Yeah,
I hate King. I hate King so much.
I love how King have that statement out, how they're they're not doing anything bad. They're just trying to protect themselves. Like, no, you're a bunch of assholes.
You're being a complete bunch of dickheads.
News attack.
Yeah. Playboxy, the web-based HTML game service, which sort of lets you play HTML5 games on your console's browser, now supports Wii U. I didn't even know this thing existed. So cool. But this is a cool little way to get indie games onto a console without actually having to go through any.
Yeah, because they'll use the controls from the consoles.
Yeah. So it's all nicely integrated. It just runs a little HTML5 game.
Yeah, they got some fun looking games in there. Gotta give them a go.
Yep. So following a couple of months of rumors about the game, Watch Dogs for the Wii U is now more formally delayed. It's coming out Q2 2014 on most platforms, but the Wii U is just listed at a later date at present.
I like the headlines for this news story this week. Basically read, Ubisoft's guarantees that Wii U version of Watch Dogs will sell terribly. It's like, yep, let's delay it, and I bet then they'll stop the DLC, and it'll cost, like in the past, the Wii U version they charge more for. So yeah, it'll be the most expensive, it'll have shitty DLC, I guarantee it, and it'll be later. Yeah. Surprise, surprise, then they'll say that no one's supporting the Wii U. Of course they won't. Stick It to the Man, however, is coming to the Wii U, which is great because it's a cool little game, and I assume they could get it on there pretty good considering it has PC controls and it's just made in Unity.
Ikaruga, the Dreamcast shmup darling, which eventually came to PC, is now coming to PC. It's making its way to Steam. There's going to be 2-player support with Ikaruga, and it's even going to have single controller support, which I guess everyone takes a stick.
Yeah. Well, what we're expecting, or I'm expecting, and other people, is that we're going to see lots and lots of hardcore videos of someone playing both ships at once.
Oh, yes. That'll be very cool. Good stuff.
Yep. So I got a programmer called Tobias. Oh, sorry if I mispronounce this. It's spelled really hard. Pafaf. I don't know. Has released Grim Mouse, which is a modified, I don't know what this is, residual VM and
it doesn't
Grim
matter.
Fandango. Yep, you can play Grim Fandango now with a mouse due to that guy who did some
looks really
stuff.
good too.
It's impressive what he's done. Yeah. I don't really know how you do that. That's great work. After we've got pretty strong rumors that Disney is going to be incorporating both Star Wars and Marvel into its Disney Infinity universe. We've somewhat got that tease now that they've discovered a lightsaber in the latest pack of Disney Infinity. So we're going to be getting Star Wars in there, most definitely. It's going to make so much money. It looks so cute. I love it.
I really trust Disney to exploit Star Wars so much more than I do George Lucas.
Yeah, they'll give that Mickey Mouse as lightsaber.
Oh God, it's good. Oh no, what about the next Kingdom Hearts?
Oh well, Kingdom Hearts may have Star Wars and might have Iron Man.
Oh God, they have to do it. That makes me. I didn't even thought about that. That's so good. They have to do it.
That would be pretty insane. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a Star Wars world in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
Okay. We could go into some crowdforcing, or I could ask if Ben's played anything this week. Have you played anything this week, Ben?
No, sorry, I failed.
Oh.
You went to the coast though.
I went to the coast. Yeah, I played beach.
You told me you got some donuts.
I got some donuts. Yeah, from Donut King. They're expensive. Maroochydor's an expensive place to go. Everything there is just city prices plus like $2, $3, $4.
It's almost like it's some kind of tourist place.
Yeah, but Caloundra prices are okay.
Yeah. What kind of donuts did you get?
I got a couple of dinosaurs and a couple of ring ones. Yeah, pretty exciting.
How many did you eat yourself?
Oh, probably half of them. Probably about 4 or 5.
Oh man, it's a lot of donut.
Yeah, they go pretty quickly.
Especially when you put them in your mouth. I was a
Yeah.
flounder myself.
How was that, man?
It was beachy. I
Yeah.
swam.
That's cool.
Then I came back home to do a podcast with some people about video games.
Video games.
Yeah, video games.
Yeah, Clown just my favorite beach, I think.
Yeah, Clown's just nice. Hey, how about those local places?
Yeah, we're like a tourism board for Queensland. Come to our beaches.
Come
Just
to
don't go to the
Caloundra.
Gold Coast. It's a hole.
It is a hole. Anyway, although I mean, like not all the Gold Coast, just the main area. Go a little bit south of the main strip.
Yeah,
Oh, there's some nice beaches
Yeah.
down there. Okay, let's stop talking about this shit and talk about some amazing shit. Crowdsourcing time. Da-da-da-da-da-da. There's a new theme. Good. It was actually going to be Inspector Gadget there for a second. I'm pretty sure.
We've got
I
to
can
go
see- yeah, I
quickly
can
through
see-
'em. We got 9 this week.
There's a bunch of them.
It's been good. I've actually
Yeah.
eliminated some.
Yeah.
Okay, first up, we have a game called Darkest Dungeon. It is in their own words, gothic roguelike RPG. You go down there with a band of people, and it's I suppose in gameplay-wise, sort of similar to what I was saying before about your Legend of Grimlocks and such, except it's played from the side view, and it looks really cool. The art in this is fantastic. Yeah, and other than that, sort of classic RPG style. What do you think, James?
I think the art is amazing.
Yeah.
So this one, it's an interesting spin on the roguelike. So in this one, you're not moving down a corridor; it's just sort of side on. The cool thing with this is the psychological aspect of it. You know, like it's playing up this kind of gothic horror thing where you know your dungeon dwellers might actually go insane and freak out, and there's morale.
It's gothic horror, but the art style is sort of a heavy inked graphic novel, but on a slightly cartoonish side.
Yeah, it looks really good. I am very not sold on that side on view though.
Why?
Because I don't like games where it looks very gamey. So to give an example, let's say do you play Battle Hearts on mobile? So Battle Hearts was this little game where it kind of leveraged MMO mechanics where you kind of move around multiple dudes to heal and tank and stuff like that. And it was a fun little game. And then between each of the missions, it was like this very obvious menu. And that kind of ruined the experience for me because it's like, well, now it feels like I'm going from level to level with a menu in between. There's no sense of place. This one, I kind of get that feeling a little bit. Like, to me, it just the way it kind of moves through the world and the way they kind of pop in, like, it feels very gamey to me. So the whole, like, horror part of it doesn't really work for me because it feels very gamey. Now, this thing's very funded. It, you know, like there's...
Oh, yeah. It's $100,000 over there asking for
and
at the moment.
I don't want to say that this game is bad because it's looks really good. It's just me personally, I don't like it when there's too many abstractions between me and the game.
Yeah, but who cares about your feelings?
Yeah. So you know, like that's just sort of my take on it. I really love the art. I love the concept that the theme I think is really cool. Like I really like that kind of gothic twist on the roguelike, and no one really ever does the fact that going through dark places is scary. Like, you know, that is actually a big part that, you know, no, it isn't really, I don't think gets across that often in kind of dungeon crawlers. So I really like that stuff. It's just more, I don't know, I had sort of the same problem with FTL, where just the presentation was like, it's not really, the way the thing flows isn't really selling it to me that well.
You're just weird because FTL's great.
Yeah, no, FTL's good.
You're dumb.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Now,
no,
Ben,
I think it looks really cool.
Ben, what do you think? Keeping in mind that at the $25 reward, you get a paper diorama.
Yeah, yeah. But for the actual, I actually really like this one. Like, I get what James is saying. Like when I saw the how you sort of trot through this, I don't know what you'd call it, this map, and you just look. It just shows you walking along, and it shows you progress on the map. That just to me was like, oh, that's just how sort of Puzzle Quest did it, and that's all I thought of it. It didn't bother me or anything. The rest of it, I kind of like this game. Like the gameplay's, it's turn-based combat, very focused on tactics and very focused on how the members of your crew are sort of responding to the scary environment.
See, what I like is because it really is taking that sort of Legend of Grimlock sort of style, but by having on the side, you know, you've got your characters really represented, taking up most of the screen, which gives them a bit more presence. Because when they're normally first person, you've got no real presence of your people in the space per se. They're just a little face down the corner. In this, it's like, oh, well, I'm actually aware of all my characters at once.
Yeah,
but,
that's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. You can pick up the game for $15. Looks like
I
a
think
$15 game
that's a
to
good
me.
Like, it's a really polished pitch.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
It's
This is
a
a good
really
one.
good pitch. You know what the game is. The art's really good. Like, one of the strongest pitches I've seen in a while.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that
Did we
was
say what this was on? I don't know
on
if we did.
Kickstarter.
No.
Or you mean on
what
Oh,
consoles?
I think it's. Oh, is it not just on PC? I assumed it was just on PC. It looked like a PC
I
kind
don't
of
remember
game.
now. Whoopsies. Throwing
I
everyone
would
out.
assume. Yeah, PC and Mac.
Yeah.
Good times. Okay, next up. We've got Hive Jump. Yeah, babe. I don't know. I want that to be like with a 90s thing, like people like giving each other a high five as they're saying it. I don't know why. Anyway, so this is a 2D pixely platformer. Always got to have one or three. This one's a little bit different, however. It's Metroid inspired. Got to have one of those. It's multiplayer. It's co-op.
Is it like Metroid if we cross it with Soldat?
Maybe that might go. Yeah, it looks really interesting. It got very, very big focus on multiplayer, which is not something we are typically used to in these kind of games. And as I said, cooperative multiplayer. I think there is some competitive as well, but primarily you'll be playing it with other people to beat the levels. I think that's really fun.
It looks like a fun couch game.
Yeah.
I think it's also using the sprite lamp technology, which was a Kickstarter we mentioned a while ago. It's a way to get really nice lighting effects into kind of pixel art, and it's worked because the lighting in it looks really nice.
It looks very cool, and they've just the animation on some of the. Well, they've primarily just got one creature that they're showing off in there, but it looks really cool, especially the way it can rip you apart. I like it, and customization of your character, so you can make your own little space marine. I think this is a really nice little pitch.
One of the things I liked about this one was they actually spoke about the ending.
Yeah.
Like the goal is it's randomly generated hives, and the goal is to get to the bottom and blow up the center of the hive, and then you win. And I like that. Like roguelikes, a lot of the time, they'll have a goal, but they're really more about playing until you die.
Yeah.
Where if this is something where it's like, no, there's a goal, there's an ending. Like
you've got a random adventure to do a thing, and you can just solve the adventure and do the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to keep you going forever.
And I really appreciated that. That's kind of the angle they were going for.
Yeah. And so at the moment, for early birds, you can pick the game up for $10, and after that, it goes up to 15. I think that looks really cool, especially if you've got a crew of people that are interested in doing it. Just wait. They got a little note on the top. If you $30, you get a unique recruiting key. Don't know what that'll.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you can get other people in on it. Interesting. Yeah, very worth looking at because if you got a group of people, and actually we should double check with them whether or not you can play at couch because single TV couch play looks perfect for this game.
Yeah, sure.
Love it. Okay, so that is Hive Jump on. They're all on Kickstarter Day. That's the last time I'll say Kickstarter. I promise. The rest is all going to be done. Next up is an interesting game on Kickstarter. Shit. Called Seven Framed. Now, this one I have many hesitations about.
Yeah, I didn't like this pitch. Can I say that?
Yeah,
this
you can.
You can say.
Yeah.
I think the pitch is bad.
Yeah.
What didn't you like about the pitch?
The talk, just everything, and then the way it tries to do this AAA shooter stuff. I'm like and you're like, and it's like, oh, we'll do it cheaper. I'm like, I don't like this. I don't know what are you trying to do to me. You're trying to tell me you recreate. I don't know. Angrifying. Anger.
The thing that I love about Ben's explanation of what he didn't like is that there's almost nothing specific in it. Just like he says a word and says, "But angry," and then he said, "Oh, but it made me angry." And then the gun came, and I'm feeling very angry.
I didn't like any of it. I don't know.
All right,
I'm sorry, I'm not more
okay.
clear.
That's all right.
Okay, the problem I had with the pitch.
Yep.
It was all scripted, not game.
Yes.
The way the camera worked, the way it looked around, that's not how I play it. Nope. That's you just animating something first person. And then I kind of look through to find, well, where's the game?
Yep.
There's no game. It's just art.
If the people making this game are listening to our commentary here, I wish to make a pitch to you. Keep your game. Don't make it a first-person shooter. Make it like a Telltale game.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Because
that'll work.
I really like your atmosphere and the style that you're going for and what you can do animation-wise. It looks really good. But you have not sold me on an ability to make a shooter. You've sold me on the ability to perhaps tell a really good tale. Tell me a really good tale.
Yeah, the premise is good. It's the atmosphere is good.
Yeah, but
really
basically the concept is, you're a waiter, and you get sent up to a room, and there's been a murder there, and you've been framed for that murder, and then you are, on the run. It's a basic, simple thing that could, and if you even telling it from a first-person perspective, how many of those like Telltale or style games have we had from a first-person perspective? No, I could see that being a really immersive experience, really interesting. And, allow you to do really cool things with the animation, and I think you've got a lot of promise there. But selling it as a shooter, you might have to go the shooting mechanics first.
They throw in this really weird curveball where they have co-op planned.
Oh, how does that even work?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why this pitch is very confusing.
Yeah.
And through the whole thing, like this is why I think there's this sentence right at the end. We are capable of creating competitive AAA at a lower cost because of our R&D roadmap and R&D mentality. And I'm like, well, how does that make it cheaper? Well, I don't understand. And they've got this theme running through the whole thing, and it's
you've got to actually demonstrate that for it to mean anything.
Yeah.
But even if wouldn't most people that have that opportunity available to them in AAA? I don't know why this makes them special.
It is very confused. Yeah. But when it came down to it, I like the potential that they seem to have in the quality of what they're producing. I think they're aiming to produce the wrong thing, though.
Yeah, I think that they have the ability to make a good atmospheric experience. They just need to better pitch it.
Yeah.
And it's like that. The pitch is lacking, but I like the concept of what they're doing.
So instead of that thing where they're not really pulling it off, let's just go to Hot Dog Heartache.
This is a game that delivers on their promise.
Yep. See, there's a game, and you're a hot dog, and that's it. Really, it's a platformer. It's 2D pixely, and you're
a sentient hot dog.
Yep. There's quite a lot of backstory to it as well.
There's a lot of emotion and feels in this.
Yeah.
So there's, I think he's a butcher or a chef.
A chef.
He gets this sentient hot dog, and he puts it into a bun.
And it's not
it
a real
comes
hot
alive.
dog.
But no. And they have all this like fun times, and they love each other very much. And then eventually, while he's caressing the hot dog packet at night, I guess when the hot dog's sleeping, he sees that it says tofu. And he's the
chef, a real hot dog.
The chef is immediately heartbroken, and then kicks the hot dog out, and then it's the heartbroken hot dog's adventures. That's the pitch, and it's basically a 90s PC platformer with that setup.
Yeah, and I love it just capturing that old ridiculousness of we got a platformer. So it's like, yeah, sure, I could star a hot dog. Why not?
Yeah,
why? Why wouldn't
what the hell is Cool Spot? I don't know what Cool Spot is.
He's the spot off the 7-Up can.
He's the spot off the 7-Up. Let's make a game about that guy. That's the kind of that's the kind of thing. I get like, what's the Dot's big story? Where'd he come from?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because they first sort of developed this game and it was very basic looking, and they've actually changed the art style enough that I actually quite enjoy the pixel art now. I think it actually looks pretty funky. That whole mountain scene with all the grass and the background.
Yeah. There's a little kick attack he does.
Yeah.
You can go play it. It's got a downloadable. You play the demo.
It's a hot dog platformer.
It's a hot dog platformer. I think they're going to own that hot dog platforming market.
They may do.
Yeah.
It's $10. I think they might have. They probably should have made it $5. But good luck to them. That's Hot Dog Heartache, and guess what that's on? It's Kickstarter.
There we go.
Okay, next up, we've got Starcrawlers. And you guys know how I've been talking about Legend of Grimlock all episode?
Yeah, I know.
This is Legend of Grimlock, but in space. Yep.
That's basically the pitch. But not only just that, it's also they've put the dungeon crawler in space and they haven't made it dark and scary. Nah, they've gone for like this kind of a bit more lighter art theme, and I think it works. So you're on a very clean space station with some very clean robots, and it looks nice.
Sort of a System Shocky.
System Shock. Think System Shock 2 before everything goes wrong.
Yes.
That's probably what it looks like. It's and really is Grimrock but in space. That's fine. The game looks polished as hell.
Yeah,
it really does.
Do you like Legend of Grimlock, but you prefer the space theme? This is the game for you. How many times can we rephrase this? Do you like I don't remember what were they called? Series of Legend of screw it. It's an old FMV Legend of that sounds like that. I love them so much. But I can't remember the names now because it's been so long ago, and I am a very old man who can't remember anything. Anyway, pick that game up for $15.
13.
No, you can't.
Oh, they're all gone?
Yeah. Early birds all gone.
Well, it was 13, but I think for what the quality of what they're giving, that's a perfectly reasonable price.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the moment, they have, and you might say, well, if it's worth it, I can get it when it comes out. If you do actually want it, they have not reached their goal. So keep an eye on it because these things might not ever come out if they don't reach the goal. I got a feeling this would anyway. But
yeah, from the quality they've got there, this will have to happen.
They've already done enough. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a good pitch. Good pitch. Okay. Next up, we've got the Book of Unwritten Tales 2, which is the sequel to the Book of Unwritten Tales, which I have not played. It is an adventure game, and it's a pretty spiffy-looking adventure game. The thing that I find interesting about this pitch is that it's a different take on Kickstarter. The game is being made, it's going to be finished, it's going to be released. There is literally no question about that. They say those words exactly in the pitch. It's like, don't worry, if you want the game, it's going to come out. What they're basically asking for here is a pre-order system, but in order to do things that they normally couldn't do within the scope of their design. So things like, well, if we get more money, we can have an orchestra play the soundtrack. We can put in some optional side quests that, weren't in the scope. We can do a couple of other things with the graphics and everything. And they've been very explicit about that. And I suppose this is a bit like what we were talking about having a kick finisher, where they've got the basic game, the game's going to be finished, but if they can get additional funding, they can add more stuff to the game that isn't normally included in a game of this scope. I think that's a really cool use of Kickstarter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this pitch was very good.
Yeah, it was.
Because they really sold the humor in the game. Like, I remember I watched the first trailer, for the original game, and the humor felt kind of hit and miss to me. Whereas I felt this one, the humor worked really well. I mean, having that character who's sort of like the devil's advocate, who's sort of, basically asking the questions that I have, and then sort of the other character answering it, but kind of in this humorous way.
And it's all very well animated really as well. So it shows they can deliver quality.
Yeah. No, I really like this pitch. Like I thought it was honest. It was very kind of upfront and like, this is what we're trying to do. Do you want it? Do you want this? And delivered in a funny, humorous way. Thought it was good. Yeah,
great solid pitch. And to check out, it's a fantasy comedy adventure game. And there's a first one there if you want to go play the first one.
Yeah.
Why not? Okay, so that was the Book of Unwritten Tales 2. So next up, Treachery in Beatdown City. Now, when I first saw this game, I said, someone's making another Retro City Rampage. Oh, not Retro City. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
River City Rampage.
There's the one.
There's the word I was after. Rip-off. And it does very much look like that. Until you realize it's not a beat-em-up style gameplay. It is more along the lines of turn-based RPG style gameplay with like tactical positioning, which completely makes it basically a new genre. I can't think of a game that plays exactly like this, but done with that retro nostalgic aesthetic. And I love, even if I can't remember River City's Rampage name, if I call it the wrong thing, I still really enjoy that game. I thought this was a very cute little pitch that I immediately saw the potential. And it's quite detailed in a lot of its moves as well, like different kinds of punches and elbows and all sorts of things. Looked like it could be quite complex if
stuff in the environment. Like you could go and like punch a letterbox and get a chicken out of it.
Yep. Yeah, as they all do.
Yeah. No, like I like these genre mashups.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've done a good job. In one of the images they had it running on Vita, but I couldn't actually see where they said it was going to come to Vita. But I guess it will.
I don't know. Yes. They might just be hoping.
They're
loving
what do you think, Ben?
I'm not going to pick on the game because it does seem solid and the pitch is pretty good. I just don't like it. The game just doesn't seem to interest me. It looks a bit. I don't like the art style. It's a bit fierce on the eyes, really.
It's
the
very
game
retro.
Doesn't look that fun to me. But I don't know. Other people I think will get right into this one. So yeah, if it's your thing, go for it.
Okay. And just checking there, James. It's initially releasing on PC and Mac, but they're aiming for PlayStation 4 and Vita.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yes. Nothing else really to say about that. There. It's $10 at the moment for early bird. That seems
looks good.
Right around there. Okay. We're getting near the end, people, I promise. Next up, we've got Blackmore, which is a steampunk adventure game, which I originally didn't have on this list at all. Because I looked and the pitch doesn't really have anything from the game in it. I couldn't really work out what the game is going to be. It's an isometric adventure game of some sort.
Of some kind.
Yeah, the reason it's back is because then we saw who was involved in it. We've got basically developers behind games like Snatcher and Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill, and one of the main voices is
David Hayter.
David Hayter, as in the voice of Solid Snake.
Oh, this is the one with the truck at the start. Did anyone see the truck at the start and think, geez, that's a well-animated truck? And then it just zooms up to a guy and you're like, oh,
It's a real truck.
real world.
It's a real truck.
So this pitch is basically just... It's hanging on the respect of the developers involved. There seems to be a lot of talk of, again, like lore and stuff, like what the world's about, but not too much about what the game is about. And that's the opposite priorities of me when I'm looking at a Kickstarter.
Yeah, this one didn't really sell.
But it's got David Hayter in it, James. And you got a hard on for Hayter.
I do, but Hayter's involved in lots of stuff. The guy voices a bunch of things. It's
more almost as if you can just call him up and hire him to do jobs.
Yeah. It's just the pitch video was like, I don't want your personal story, man. Like it just like kept going on and on. Like the pitch needs some work.
I never actually got to a part where they were talking about the game specifically.
No, I started skipping through it going, where's the game
it's
part?
5 minutes 30 of very little to do with the game.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you said the word Snatcher. You're done. Like now show me the game. That's the bit people want to hear. I just found this whole thing very confusing. Like I was trying to figure out what it was, but it's like one of those like we're a team of artists and writers and here's our vision, but I don't know what it is. I was just like, I don't know like if I should recommend this or not because I just don't know what the game is.
But it's going to be in a rich 2.5D style.
Yeah, like I'm even not even sure what they mean by that.
Yeah, just one mock-up screenshot even.
Yeah,
just show us what you're trying to achieve.
What do you mean? You know, like generally 2.5D is when there's we make it look like there's 3D. Well, we work on like a 2D plane, but there's 3D elements there. Is that what they mean? If they just lock the camera at like, the right angle to make it look isometric, and call that 2.5D? Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like the whole thing was like, I don't quite understand what you guys are going for. I'd like to see that pitch cleared up.
Yeah, we've had a few of we've had a few of these where just people come in and sort of say game. I think that'll sell it. And if you're not Tim Schafer, that doesn't work.
Yeah, Tim Schafer can do it.
Tim Schafer's allowed to. Yeah.
I think Peter Molyneux could get away with it.
I don't know.
Maybe. Oh, actually, if he came in and said the right word, if he came in and said Dungeon Keeper.
No. Peter Molyneux, the entire pitch video should just be him sitting there for a minute, and then he just looks at the camera and says, dreams. I would pitch so hard. just to see. So that game is going to go for some money on Kickstarter. Every time I go to look at the price, I just start looking at like, is it even a game again? And then stuff. You were able to get it for $20, but now it's $25. Which I don't know if it's worth it or not, because I have no idea what the game is.
I don't know what that game is.
Okay, speaking of games that we don't know what they are, here's a game where we can very clearly see many, many ideas. This game is called Galactic Princess. It's been around on the indie scene a few times. I was already excited for it, and now it's Kickstarter, so now I'm even more excited because I am such a Kickstarter fanboy. This is, sort of, you could throw in a bit maybe faster than light, except you get to build your own spaceship. And I like to think of that spaceship building to be a little bit like Dungeon Keeper, because I just like putting those words on things. You get to build different rooms, and then you engage in space battles and space adventures, and the whole thing's basically themed like Star Wars, crossed with Firefly. And
those are some words. You said a bunch of words that I really like.
Yeah, and it's pixel art, but it's more pixel art, sort of like the Swords and Sorcery sort of pixel art, where it's the longer and gods will be watching, that sort of thing, where it's the hip modern pixel art, not the retro aesthetic pixel art.
If you actually watch the way the ship is built, it really looks like Dungeon Keeper. The way you kind of like, just instead of digging, you're adding. But it's pretty much what it is.
The character animation involved is fantastic. When people are interacting in rooms, it's just like little. It's like a diorama. This is the diorama episode. It's also there's even lightsaber battles. This game has so many things that you could just throw in, like just a sentence of all the words involved, and it's like it's a money printing machine, I think. I think this looks Very, very cool. You can pick up the game for £10, which, is pushing you up probably about this, in Australia now with our money, maybe 17, $18, something like that. Yeah, our dollar's going shitty.
Yeah. And I am a game developer, which means I don't have much money.
It's true. You should play the lottery more.
I should.
Yeah.
That'll solve my monetary issues.
And they're after 20 grand, and they've only just launched basically a day ago, so they're only at 2 grand so far. So if we could multiply by 10, that'd be great, guys.
Yeah, get on that, guys.
Yeah, I really like that. Ben, you did a bit of a before. Well, you want to elaborate on your
Oh, well, when I looked at this game, like, sure, you can build your ships, but then it just looks like chaos. Like, it looks like 2 Tetris pieces going at each other in space. And I'm just like, well, what's the deal here, really?
Well,
I'm not sure.
Have you played Faster Than Light?
No, I haven't.
Well, it looks very much that sort of thing where there's ship-to-ship combat going on while there's also internal things happening. So people go over to the other ship and stuff. So you have to maintain your systems and fight back invaders and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's actually a pause functionality in that. So because most games like this have a pause functionality, so you can get on top of everything that's going on. Because it can be quite hectic.
I love all the little animations they have as well. Like the engineering room, they got a little animation there. And there's one robot, which I'm pretty sure is just bending something. It looks cute. It's very cute.
Very cute. I love it.
The color palette's really nice as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, it really, as I said, it's that current hip pixel aesthetic. And I think it plays to all of its strengths. Very fun. And so many things are just like, is that legally distinct enough from Star Wars to get on with it? Okay, so I guess it's time for our picks of the week. So, Ben, you're first up. What is your pick this week?
I really like the Book of Unwritten Tales. That's a good pitch, and I'm hoping they do get the extra 40 grand that they need at the moment for the orchestra. But Darkest Dungeon by far, I think that's going to be tough to overthrow for actually Game of the Year, maybe an early contender.
Oh, very high praise. James, what about you?
You threw Galactic Princess at me. I hadn't actually looked at that one in the notes. So I'm choosing between that and Starcrawlers.
I think you should do Starcrawlers.
Yeah, okay. I'll go Starcrawlers.
And I'll go Galactic Princess.
Problem solved.
Okay, I believe Ben has a thing to talk to us about.
Oh, yeah. So this week, my question is, what was the first game with a cutscene? Let's see if you can, guys. Do you want to have a quick guess at what this one could have been?
This is a tough one. So
what constitutes a cutscene?
Yeah. Well, I've got actually how cutscenes sort of evolved. So just try to get anything sort of along the lines of even if it's just moving characters around, which was the first one.
So like a scripted thing that's happening. That has to be pretty early.
It doesn't even have to be scripted.
Cutscene. Is it Atari era?
Yep, you'll probably actually know this one off a bit of a hint because you would have seen it before. Because I know I've seen it, or at least ones that later versions of it. Think of 2 things chasing each other around.
I was thinking Pac-Man.
Yep. So the first game was listed by a lot. Yep, that's it exactly. The first game with a cutscene. The old Pac-Man games back in 1980. The Pac-Man and Ghost used to have that bit where they chase each other about the screen. So then a few years later, there was actually just 1 year later, there was an arcade game. That was the first one, and it's even listed by Guinness World Records as the first game with this type of cutscene. I'm not sure if you'll know it or not, but you'll know it when I say it.
Lay it on us.
Lay it on you. It's Donkey Kong, which was released in arcades in 1981.
Oh, yeah, when he climbs to the top? When he grabs the princess?
Sure. Well, no, because the whole thing. So it's got the award for first game. Example of a complete story with beginning and end told by a video game in Guinness World Records. So I found that interesting. Yeah. And then a couple of years later, there was a whole bunch, but probably the first one was in 1983. The Laserdisc video game Beaker's Battle introduced the use of animated full motion video cutscenes with voice acting to develop a story, which was situated between the game's shooting stages because it was a shooting game. So they were the 3 that really stood out to me, and sort of the 3 that started sort of different eras of cutscenes, which I thought was pretty interesting. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, now on to Sounds a Bit Like. So last week's sounded a bit like this.
Come on, up here.
Okay, someone guessed that this week, so I know what it is, and as soon as they said it, I remembered as well.
Ben, you got any ideas?
So Ben, have you got a guess?
Is it that star that Paul got for that Christmas that year that sang songs?
No, it's not. This was guessed by Brian G on the forums or on the website, and that is King's Quest V: Absence Makes the Heart Go Yonder, which was the first talkie adventure game that I played. Came back out in 1990 from Sierra and was on PC, and that particular character was
the
Cedric.
Stupid owl, the stupid freaking owl.
He was. That was a game that was written by Roberta Williams. King Graham was voiced by the wonderful Josh Mandel, who is someone we spoke to a while ago. And you should go listen to that interview because it was a fascinating talk with Josh Mandel and Al Lowe about the Sierra days. It was the first King's Quest game which used the VGA SCI engine. So very, very big graphical leap from the early ones. I didn't actually know that there was a NES version that came out, which was not very well received. And it actually was censored. They Nintendoed certain things in there, like one of the lines in the PC version was about getting some water, and it's nectar of the gods, and Nintendo didn't like the religious connotations of saying nectar of the gods, so they changed it to saying cool, that cool water felt wonderful on Graham's parched lips. So there was also some differences between the CD-ROM version and the disc version, which I didn't actually know until I looked this stuff up. In the CD-ROM version, Cedric is killed. In the disc version, he's just turned into a stone.
CD-ROM is better.
That sounds pretty similar anyway, but I guess it was more violent death in the CD-ROM version.
Yeah, I want to see blood. Okay, next week sounds a bit like this. And that is one that I got in like the first 2 of a second.
All right, good. And we'll announce what that one is at the end of next week's show.
Yep, it's a good one. Okay, well, that pretty much brings us to the end of today's episode. We're going to run. See, I want to talk about Dead Island Epidemic, but they did have all those NDAs that I had to click on at the start of it. So
do you ignore it?
All I want to say is that with that beta key, I have 3 more beta keys. So if you've listened this far in the episode, just say gimme on like the post, and if you're one of the first 3, I'll private message you a key to it. It might be worth playing.
Yeah, you can't say much.
I can't say, but maybe you want one of those keys. Just maybe.
Maybe. Hey, I did something cool this week.
What did you do?
I borrowed an Oculus Rift.
That's cool.
And then I played some Skyrim. And that was pretty awesome. Getting it running was fairly painless. There was a little app I run in the background, and basically I have that thing running, load up Skyrim, and hey, there you go. I can walk around Skyrim.
Did you use the mod where you can yell to do your dragon shouts?
No, I didn't get that far. The problem I have is after 15 minutes, I need to stop.
Yeah.
I get very ill very quickly, and then I am ill for a good 2 hours or so afterwards. I get the Oculus shakes. And don't go so well. But in that 15 minutes that I play, it is pretty damn good. The sense of scale that you get when you actually can look at it 3D works really well. I was playing with a controller, 360 controller and the headset. That combination works nicely. Get around without too much fuss. Can't really see any of the HUD because the resolution's too low on the Rift. But if I did not get sick after 15 minutes of play, that would be the way I'd want to play that game, for sure. Sure. Definitely appreciate the world a lot when you can see it in 3D.
Fabulous. I agree. Probably. Okay.
Well, I think you'd last less than I would, man.
Yeah, I'm not good with the Oculus. I get motion sick with so many things. Okay, So that pretty much brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for listening. This has been 8.5bit. You can catch it on the website, 8.5bit.com, our Twitter and Facebook, and please like anything you like on there. And if you do follow us on Facebook, you get to check out our daily Game Watch. Subscribe to us on iTunes. If you do, please leave us a review because reviews make people find us, and then we have a better time because we feel like people love us. Yeah. Okay, I've been your host, Paul.
And I've been James.
I'm still Ben.
Catch you later, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.